This episode of The Great Equalizer is brought to you by the Lego Group in celebration of their reimagined Lego Friends range.
The 2023 Lego Friends universe includes characters with a wide variety of skin tones, cultural backgrounds, different abilities, and neurodiversity, all with authentic personalities and relationship scenarios.
Review our website and show notes for more on the latest Lego Friends set, with links to a Lego Friends TV special currently streaming on the Lego YouTube channel.
This is The Great Equalizer, a parenting podcast about the realities of being a mom
Or dad.
in the 2020s. We are your hosts, Sam,
And Charlene.
and we believe we're all rocking the same kind of crazy.
So let's get real, let's get honest, and let's have a laugh about the ups and downs of our current upside down. Hashtag no judgies.
On this episode of The Great Equalizer, Sam does a thing.
Charlene weathers a poo storm
And we chat about the importance of building multicultural friendships
in a multicultural country.
with parents, author, and social worker Joey Dlamini. And hello
Hi.
to you. We have another in-studio guest, and I'm liking this vibe, Charlene. I don't know about
Yes,
you.
yes. Three's not a crowd.
Three's not a crowd.
No.
We have the best chats. Hey, the
Indeed.
more the merrier, I think. Ty, what do you reckon?
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. Yes. Charlene, we are in it. It's February, and in my books, February means the start of the new year. January
It's
is
just
like
a trial run
January is that like pancake, that the first pancake of
that
the batch.
flops. Yes, yes.
Now we are Happy New Year. Can you say that? Can we say
I 100% think we can still say that. If your new year has gotten off to a good start or a bad start, we are wishing you a happy new year.
yes? And
Let's be happy. We have another year.
and good luck
Yes.
and Godspeed.
May the fittest man or the strongest man win.
Helping us navigate this new entree into a new phase of parenting. Another year, another one down. Helping us navigate the shit show is Joey Dlamini. As I mentioned, Joey, welcome to The Great Equalizer.
Hi, how are you?
We're good.
You know, we soldier on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I could sit here and complain, or I could say, you know what? Against all odds, we sit here as moms with sleepless nights and traffic situations and whatever you weathered this morning. We're here and we're talking about the things that are important. So
Yes.
let me focus on that. It's I'd like to give our audience some insight into who you are,
Yes.
into what you're doing. So, if I may,
Yes.
let us read your credentials. This is the best part, I think, for guests on the show.
Yes.
I want to be a guest on a show so it can happen to me. Sit back, relax. Let us read your credentials. Let us wash these compliments over you, hey?
Unless, of course, you're a person who hates hearing about yourself.
No.
It's a new year. We are just receiving it.
Yes,
Let's
receiving. So without further ado, folks, this year lady is a qualified social worker, an author, and a mom of 3 who has made it her mission to prepare and equip families for the changing world.
Yep, this self-proclaimed imperfect parent, I love it, guides families as they navigate tricky new dynamics. You also assist teens and tweens in discovering their purpose while they are young.
Joey has also written a book called The Teen Top 25, Foundational Life Lessons for a Thriving Journey to Adulthood. But you are very much a human and no doubt have your ups and downs. So join us in our first segment, Joey. How are you? How are you really?
Okay, so let me interrupt you here. Essentially, we're putting you in the parenting hot seat, right? You take off your professional hat. All right? Let it
Yeah.
all out here, sister.
No judges here.
No judges. Complete the sentence. Joey is...
A bit overwhelmed, but getting there. Yeah.
I like it.
Well, I mean, I guess it's to be expected. You've got
Yeah.
3 kids. It's a new school year. You're juggling a number of career things. So overwhelmed is to be expected.
Yeah, and my daughter just started daycare yesterday. So she's been so angry with us. She was even telling her auntie that mommy and daddy are not big mom and daddy anymore. So that literally means that we are not doing the things because she wanted to go back to daycare and we were still looking for one.
Right.
So I was like, no, we are disappointing her.
Oh
No,
my
no,
gosh.
you are not the big people. You are not doing the things.
You're not doing your job correctly. Like, yes, these kids can cut you down to size, hey?
And she's only 4. Imagine.
Yes,
when
they
I was 4,
really-
I didn't even know that. I wouldn't even say that.
How do you know what my job entails, much less to correct me on it?
So, Joe, you've got a 4-year-old little
Yes.
girl.
9-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy who's
Wow.
going to 35. It
Oh,
feels
really?
Like that.
15 going on 35.
Yeah.
I feel like firstborns are like that, though.
Yeah.
Maybe
and
it's
I'm
a
firstborn.
generalization, but
Yeah.
you also seem like an old soul, very wise.
And it's very annoying sometimes because he's mini me and he explains. You know, I always joke that the girls for this generation, they are not going to complain about men don't talk because this generation of boys, they talk. They talk about their emotions. They explain and explain.
Be careful
and
what you wish for, hey? We wanted men who are in touch with their
Right.
emotions.
And now they
we're
are
raising
here. Hey.
Yes.
Well, I believe some kudos is due to you because that is definitely a result of.
That's got to be a
very-
reflection on your
yeah,
parents.
Very in
Thank
tune
you.
parenting. Well done.
Thank you so much.
So, you've written a book.
Yes.
You are a qualified social worker.
Yes.
You are also founder of Be Accentuated. Can you tell us more about that?
Be Accentuated, it's my passion project. So after I graduated with my social work degree, I discovered, and it's so shocking, that there are no positions for social workers in South Africa with all the social issues that we have.
And might I add, I think we are 60,000 social workers short in the system.
But
wow.
for some, but there are graduates out there who are not employed.
They don't.
Like 5 or 10 years later, they are still struggling. So I've got a 9 to 5 where I'm working differently from what I went to school for, which is fine. I always say that it is funding my passion projects, so it works. So I realized that I was either going to let my degree go to waste and continue complaining, or I can use the skills that I have. And growing up, I've always been that child who wanted to do different things. I was always organizing something. And I remember that there was a time I said I wanted to be a social worker, but I did not have the resources when I went to school. So that's where Be Accentuated come from. A need for me to create a safe space for kids around Deep Kloof and Soweto, where they can come, both girls and boys, where they can come and learn from each other and destroy some of the stereotypes and myths that are keeping them away from each other, that are making them compete instead of complementing one another. So that is what I'm trying to do with Be Accentuated.
I love it. Well, we are going to put our listeners in touch with all of your platforms,
Thank
your
you.
website. So head on over to the show notes if you're interested now. Be sure to give Joey a follow and Be Accentuated. It's another profile I follow on Instagram, and of course your website. But we're not done with you yet. We are not done with you. Charlene, you need to tell us how you are. You are weathering a poo storm.
Well, you know what? Yesterday at 12 o'clock, if I had to say what I was going through, it would have looked very different. However, as of 3 p.m. yesterday, my daughter started vomiting and having severe diarrhea. I messaged Sam. I was like, it is coming out of this kid like lava. She is so small. I cannot believe that such a tiny body can have so much vomit and poo coming out of her. And so I was like, I've heard that there's this thing doing the rounds. And so I had it, I did not have this level of it last week. If I just look at her, maybe it seems worse because she's tiny and she's my baby, you know. But I was like, I felt like proper sick last week with an unhappy stomach. some vomiting, but once or twice and it was done. This kid, and it was like this. She was like, Mommy, my stomach's cramping. And within 20 minutes, it was all a mess. So I thought we could just manage it with a bit of over-the-counter meds. But a long, almost vomiting stint on everyone in the DISCEM. After then managing to clean ourselves up in the parking lot, and then emergency running into the spa, yelling at the owner, do you have a toilet for my child? I felt like, looking back, I had this out-of-body experience as though my daughter was like shot, and I have this like, I need a doctor kind of thing. He was horrified, this poor man. Sure, ma'am, come, I'll lead the way. And he took me to this, out the back door of the spa, into like, luckily clean, well-kept toilets. And there we were for the next hour, just like then sitting, then bent over the toilet, then sitting, then bent over the toilet. And people came in and out of this cubicle. The conversations that we were having in this cubicle was just, I was going through the most, let me just say. She was crying, I was comforting. Then she was missing her teacher. Then it went from, I'm so glad you're my mommy, to, I wish Jesus just made some things easier, to I wish you had a magic wand so you could make this stop, but we're not in Disneyland. It was... We went through the most in this little time, and so we ended up at the doctor last night. She either has E. coli, dysentery, or just straightforward gastroenteritis, or whatever the term is. They don't know.
Of the worst kind.
Of the worst kind. And so I did not sleep last night. She's at home. My husband cancelled all his appointments so I could be here today. So I've weathered a poo storm.
I mean, to both of you. My story is not as much of a shit show. I'm sorry.
I don't think so. Like,
Yeah,
I
you
mean,
know.
I did not get rained on this morning.
This morning was tough, but I braved it. I literally braved the storm for my kids. I had to park 2 blocks away from my kids' new school and carry Noah, my 2-year-old, who was sleeping. I mean, it's been a tough transition for him, which I felt bad because I was worried about my eldest, Elijah, transitioning to a new school, not thinking how much it would impact my youngest to be in the car for almost an hour before he got dropped off at his school. And waking up 2 hours earlier. And he has been so tough.
If you think about your firstborn at that age, you're like, he didn't have to go through any of this. Yeah,
the second one, he just like, oh, we're getting in the car now? Okay, this is what we're doing. And he's cheerful. But his teacher sent me a message a couple of weeks back and said, Noah's tired like 2 hours before nap time and grumpy.
He's up early.
And I'm just like,
what must I do?
I'm sorry, it's a transition, and they go I'm a stickler for routine at bedtime. I'm doing my best, and I'm doing it alone.
They're going
traveling
to bed early. I'm doing the things.
I'm trying. You feel like someone's criticizing you, and I had to keep reminding myself, this teacher's a mom.
Yeah.
She needs to check in. She needs to ask what time Noah goes to bed. I cannot take it personally, so I'm working on myself. Yeah,
but not putting your kid to bed on time is not the, or not putting your kid to bed on time and waking him up early is not the thing that you did.
It's not the thing. The thing that I did. So long-time listeners, well, even if as you know, recently, if you've started listening and watching the Great Equalizer, you will know from September that I had to tell my child we do not have pets because I'm not a farmer. I am a writer. I write, and Daddy's in film, and I'm not a farmer. His friend Charlie owns many animals, and at one point,
zero.
And I owned 0 at the time, and I had to explain to him. You guys will know this by our Other People's Kids episode, that eventually I just lost my wits and said,
Composure.
You know what? Charlie's parents are farmers. They're not. But I said that they're farmers. And that's why they have so many animals. Anyways, this kid has been pining for a dog. It has been a year in the making.
It's been more than a year in the making.
It has been more than... we actually promised him one for his 5th birthday when he would be responsible enough to pick up poo, help feed the dog, care for the dog, etc. And this week it happened. My husband's been away for a month.
To hear about the poo pickups. Oh, this is going to be beautiful.
My husband's been away for a month. He was back the weekend. And when you adopt a dog, especially, it's advisable to have the whole family there. So we had to like pull the trigger this weekend. And we were going, I had explained to Elijah, I'd set up his expectations. I said, we're going to go and see if we make a match.
If we don't.
This is a new member of our family. And we need to make the right choice. We cannot bring the wrong dog home. This dog will be heartbroken if we've got to take it back because
it also needs to choose us. Yeah.
It needs to choose us, exactly. Well, we matched with the dog that ticked all the boxes. So welcome Zara to Team TGE, to the Herbs household.
Herbs. Hey Zara. Our next photo shoot's got to include Zara. It's got to.
So we got a dog. I did a thing, and you know, as hard as it's been, especially alone, to kind of make this transition atop additional transitions, I cannot deny the joy that it's brought my kids. Pets just bring a whole nother level of happy to your house.
Yeah.
And particularly Elijah, he really is a sweet and he's a kind, sensitive soul. I think he had a dog-shaped hole in his heart that has now been filled.
Oh man.
So especially after this, it's been a month of school transitions where he's had to go to a different school, make new friends, which, I mean, it's coming right, but you know, it's slowly, and it's not the close friendships yet that he had at his other school. So it's nice for him to have a mate that he can offload on, you know, and just be with when he gets home, which I see is what's been happening.
Also, he's quite an introvert as well, so making friends is not exactly, he's not the type of kid that'll be like, oh, I mean, he loves everyone, he's such a cool, kind kid, but he keeps to himself, and I mean, that's sort of along the lines of what we'll be talking about today, right, Sam?
Exactly. Elijah's really slow to warm up, and so friendship has been a big theme in the house without me trying to make it overtly a thing in my home. Over the next 3 episodes, we will be talking about friendship in partnership with Lego South Africa, our sponsor for these 3 episodes, and we will be chatting about various aspects of friendship.
Please remember, what we say on this podcast can only be considered the gospel on planet Sam and Charlene, respectively. Our kids and husbands can be assholes and angels at the same time, and only we're allowed to say so. And lastly, by virtue of the fact that we are amazingly insightful and incredibly divine human beings, and a fucking delight to be honest, we reserve the right to change our minds and or contradict ourselves whenever we so choose. And we don't want to hear a damn thing about it. Hashtag no judgies.
Charlene, yes. Friendship is a beautiful thing. But when you become a parent, it gets tricky, which is why Joey's here. There can be nothing more heartbreaking for me or worrying or scary than when your child has to navigate tricky friendship dynamics, relationship dynamics. I don't want to discount how sweet it is when they make connections and the friendship hits just right.
No, that I agree. Just this, like 2 weeks ago, I read a post by a mom on social media saying that her kid has made friends with a few kids and their parents are cliquey. So because they're a group of mom friends, her kid never gets invited to the play dates. So, I mean, there's so much more to than just your child simply meeting someone and they connect to. So as Sam said, for the next 3 weeks, we're doing a deep dive into helping our children navigate friendships, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
So, Joey, we're just really pleased to have you here to help us, to hold our hands and guide us.
We've always, even as moms, when we became moms, this podcast started because we were like, we don't feel like we fit.
Yeah.
You know, not necessarily because people are cliquey, just we were going through things that other moms were going through, and we were like, this isn't nice. When other moms were like, I'm so blessed, my baby's so good, I'm so grateful. We were grateful, but it also sucked, you know? And so this podcast started kind of as a spin-off of those emotions because we wanted to create a friendship, a space for friends, people to sit at our table, to, even if we don't know them, to listen in and be like, these are my friends because
Yeah.
I feel that too, and I feel less isolated.
So, I mean, it's one thing when our kids are babies, right? Then we're dealing with those cliquey dynamics between moms, which is a whole other thing. Like the mommy wars, whether they truly exist or not, is a whole other thing to navigate. But it
Yes.
has to deal with friendships. And when you become a mom, it's infinitely more difficult to become to make new friends.
You're making
I
friends
feel.
now for the sake of your child as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you would
Yes.
normally choose your friends and be like, I vibe with this person. That's lekker.
Yeah.
But you have to develop a relationship
Yes.
with someone because your child has vibed with their child.
But so now bring in when your child starts making friends. So small children, we know this. They do side-by-side play, right? So
Yes.
at what, till age 3, I think, when Joey does that change, when do little people, foundation phase and going into the early grades, you know, so ECD, foundation phase, when do they start moving on from side-by-side play
Like
and
to,
really forming close relationships?
Okay, so it can start from the age of 5 years, and it depends on the child, you know, because some kids, as you were talking about your son, my eldest, the teenager, he's the same. He takes time to make friends, while his brother, he's very quick. Even the sister, she'll be like, oh, mommy, I have a friend. She went to crèche yesterday. Already she has friends. So from the age of 5 years going up, that's where the kids now feel a deeper need to have my friend, my special friend, the one I know their name. I want to go and play with them. I want to go to their parties and all these things. But before that period, most of them are just like, they're interested in their own world, but slowly starting to see that, okay, there's someone next to me. So from 5 years old, but also it will depend on the personality of the child. If they're an introvert, they can take longer.
So it becomes almost a dig, almost like a deep insult. I've found it among Elijah and his friends. You're not my friend anymore.
Yeah.
Or today so-and-so was my friend, but tomorrow they're not. So the friendships seem fickle, but I definitely saw from age 4 going into 5 exactly what you say with Elijah. It's that person wasn't kind to me. They're not my friend today. Tomorrow they might be my friend again, but they didn't make me feel nice, you know? So I don't know. Is it realistic to form an expectation that your kids are going to form really solid friendships now?
No, I think, and also for us as parents, we always need to remember that kids don't see things like us. The way you are saying, they can fight today and tomorrow they are besties. They forgot about it. But with us as parents, we are holding on to the grudge that, oh, you did not invite my son.
You
or
were mean to, how dare you be mean to my special snowflake?
You know,
Your mother should be teaching you better.
Exactly. But for your child, it's like you are overreacting. So we need to understand when dealing with kids' friendship that we should not take it so personally. Because I think that's the issue. Because you, as the parents, you get personally hurt, you take the grudge, you take the hate, and then now your child must deal with your emotions on top of their emotions. So we need to lower our expectations. They are still finding their way. Even for us as adults, most of us are still finding our ways. So why are we expecting our kids at the age of 5 or 6 or 7 to form long friendships, especially in our current world? Things have changed. They've got more options. There are friends they are playing with online. There are friends they are meeting. So the dynamics have changed, and we need to take that into account.
Also, I mean, I've got a confession to make. Over the weekend, we were at a party, and I got to think of name alternatives. Yeah, so I don't reveal all my cards. No, so I don't compromise somebody else's safety.
Who hasn't consented to being discussed on a public forum.
There's a little boy in Elijah's old school, so we were at a party of one of Elijah's really close friends from his previous school, and they were all, you know, Elijah only very recently got used to being on a jumping castle and rough and tumbling with the other boys. He would normally step away from that, and he was enjoying the rough and tumble. But there's one particular boy, let's call him Justin, who, we know this, all the parents know it, the teachers know it, he struggled to really fit in. You know, could be that he's on the spectrum, could be that he just really is a lot more introverted, but really, and would lash out at the other kids. I don't know the full story because it really never impacted us as much as it perhaps did, the boy himself or some of the other kids.
Also, there's hearsay amongst
And
parents.
there's hearsay,
No.
exactly. So, so-and-so's
So-and-so's
child.
child. No.
What I'm trying to say is Justin was never on my radar.
Just another kid.
He was just another kid, Elijah and he were never really close. But he was at the party, and Elijah came running up to me. Sam, Justin is doing this. Justin is lashing out and hitting me. And Justin, so I was just like, okay, and maybe move away from him if he's doing that. And as we try as parents, like, I don't know what you want. I can't go and shout at another child.
Or another child's
And his
parents.
mom is watching him. So I don't know
It's not
what you
my
want
jurisdiction.
me to do.
Yes.
Yeah. You got to manage it. You got to manage these dynamics, and I can't help you. If you don't like what he's doing, use your voice, use your words, and tell him, Justin, I don't like this. Please stop hitting me. Please stop. Eventually, Elijah was nagging at me, and I was just like, okay, let me see what's happening and I went up to the jumping castle, and Justin was standing in front of me, and I said, Justin, what's happening? Elijah says that you're hitting him. So I did end up having an altercation with the child. Look, I was very gentle about it, and I was just like, oh, and in front of Elijah as well, so that if Elijah's lying, Justin can also be like, but Elijah was hitting me, like I do with my boys when they fight. Justin was just like shell-shocked. I'm very sure his mom was watching me, kind of confront his child.
Oh, wow.
And I really was trying to be, Justin, what is happening here? What exactly? And then I see Elijah, while his mom's dealing with it, Elijah starts rough and tumbling with one of the other kids, and they're hitting each other, but in a playful way. So I had to be like, okay, my kid played me. The other kids, including Elijah, are rough and tumbling with one another and hitting each other. Justin joins in and hits, and Elijah comes, Justin hit me. But you guys are all hitting each other as part of
so
the
where
game.
do we draw the line?
So I was like, I feel like a damn fool. I spoke to Elijah about it, but that's my like mom confession for today in dealing with friendship. I was like, okay, this kid is left out, by my child included, and I'm really not on top of how to deal with kids' social
clearly,
dynamics.
how do you handle that? You go on helping your child, but it's difficult, man.
I think for me, I would recommend talking to the parent. That's the safest way.
Okay.
Because you don't know how someone is going to react to you speaking to their child. But if the parent is not there, obviously you will have to intervene. But if the parent go and say, and make it a joke, like, these kids and they are busy playing, now they want me to be the judge.
Oh,
you know?
I don't know what's going on here. They're saying hitting
and
each
then
other.
let the parent. And I think especially with boys, as much as I don't like saying it, because they too like playing like that.
I don't condone it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and for me, with my eldest, I remember saying to him and his friends, because they will make these jokes that are not nice. And I said to him, guys, why can't you find a better way of playing? Because the issue is that someone is going to get hurt. Someone is going to get angry. The next thing you'll be fighting. So I think it's also an issue of us as parents teaching our boys that you can do differently. You can fight differently. It does not mean that if you want to have fun, you must be hitting each other. Because the reality is that someone will end up crying.
Yes.
It's going
It's
to be
fun
okay
now
until
someone, because how do you set a boundary? Exactly.
Exactly. So I think it's us now teaching them different ways of playing, which takes more effort.
Oh gosh, yeah. Don't think you're gonna go to a party and your kids are old now and you can sit back and have a glass of wine while they play. You're still refereeing.
No,
you're still watching them like
refereeing,
a horse. It's so. I mean, that was my mom confession. My mom confession. I was embarrassed after that. I was just like, okay, my kid's at fault here as well, and these kids all shouldn't be hitting. And now I spoke to her child, and maybe I shouldn't have spoken to him because he doesn't know who I am. So inclusivity has always been a big thing for us in this podcast. As Charlene mentioned, we have always tried among mothers to let no one mom feel left out. Now that our kids are becoming little people in the world, same goes actually for them.
Even if a kid is historically mean, because the kids talk, they're like, this is the naughtiest boy in the class.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Yes.
Because so-and-so is always mean. It's been difficult for me to navigate that because, firstly, I don't want my kids to get in the habit of judging other kids. So the first thing I try and do is explain to them, listen, I get it. Meanness is not nice. And we try and not be mean to others. But we don't know the reasons why this child is mean. They might be sad. They might be having a bad day. I'm not excusing mean behavior, but from our perspective is what I try and tell my kids is, we don't know the full story. So let's not label someone as the naughtiest kid or the meanest kid. Try and be kind to them. I'm not saying seek out a friendship with them, but the least you can do is just not name call them and do not stand on a united front with all the other kids and say, that's the mean boy, we're not playing with them. Rather, lead by example and try say to your friends, look, guys, let's rather just go play over there. Maybe he's having a bad day,
That's actually a good point.
I don't know. I try and do that, and then I'm like,
And also,
am I
like-
teaching my kids to not set a boundary, and am I teaching them to accept bad behavior,
But I think the way you are doing it, it works because you are telling them you don't have to accept it, but you also need to be aware that there are other forces that you might not see. So I think the issue was going to be if you are saying to them, no, just be kind and allow them, but you are not saying that. You are saying you can remove yourself from that person. You don't have to be their therapist.
Yes.
But you don't also have to be a bully to them just because they are a bully.
Yeah.
But also when I'm listening to you, this issue, it goes to us as adults. Because kids don't know that this person is naughty. We are saying that language. The teachers are saying that. Then the kids start saying it too. Then everyone is saying it. So the issue goes up there.
Yeah, they hear. That's where they hear it from.
Yeah.
Like consistently, you're naughty. Why are you being naughty?
And they even
instead of saying
compare
this is
them.
not how we behave, no, so and so, let's try do it differently. I understand. Look, I have no jurisdiction here to talk about how teachers handle things in the
Yeah.
classroom because there are 28 kids in a classroom and I can barely deal with 2. So let me
I
just
get you,
put
hey?
my foot back into my mouth.
So, I mean, this episode's titled Multicultural Friendships in a Multicultural Society. We live in South Africa. Let's be realistic here. So we've spoken about navigating just the fact that they're making friends now.
Yes,
And
and
making
not to
and
mention
forming
friends
bonds.
from like all different walks of life.
Yes.
So
So I really want to get stuck into the importance of look, worldwide. If we lived in Scandinavia, I'd be like, no matter who is in your class and considering who the minority is or who the marginalized is, we are game for multicultural, diverse friendships, right? We can learn so much. So, but particularly in South Africa, let's really, I want to get into the nitty gritty, and I want to start off with another. This isn't a confession, but it is a story because it's made, and I've thought about this so much because it happened to me when I was 6, which is how old Elijah is now. It was 1993.
oh my gosh, you was 6
I was 6 in
1993.
1993.
Okay.
It was 1993. We're on the cusp of the new South Africa. It must have been communicated to me. The PR language at the time was, we are becoming a rainbow nation.
Yeah.
This is very exciting. We, are going to be an all-inclusive, just beautiful rainbow nation. The new South Africa. That had stuck for me. And so I was in a nursery school. We didn't have grade R or grade naught or anything at the time. I was in a nursery school. And it sounds crazy and like shameful to say, but now is when black, colored, Indian children of color could go to former Model C and former white schools. So for, overseas listeners, this might sound bizarre to you, but that was in our lifetime.
I was
So-
older when all of this was going on, so I heard
your
all of that PR.
experience
but
must have been super different.
the dialogue around me was very different.
So, I mean, this was happening, and we had one little black girl that came in. The only black child in the school. Her name was Nyasha. And I
Can you
made...
imagine what that kid
I'm thinking
must
about
have
Can you
felt
imagine?
like?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Sure.
oh my God.
Can you imagine? So, it was really a seminal moment for me, just in terms of making friends and in terms of who I am. And it's really not a bragging kind of saviorist point of view. So I hope it doesn't come across that way. But it must have been communicated to me that we're in the New South Africa. And I had a particular friend, Charlene, and she said, well, I'm not playing with you if Nasha plays with you. And I remember standing up to her and saying, well, then I'm not playing with you because this is the New South Africa.
Oh my gosh. You know what? That is actually the sweetest story, knowing you as a person, because Sam just wants to be everyone's friend, even now as an adult. So people will be so mean to her, and she's not good at setting boundaries. And she'll just be like, it's okay. I'll go back for more. I want to be your friend. Come, sit at my table. That is so Sam.
Well, Charmaine did not play with me that day. She played with me subsequently, and my mom organized a play date between Nyasha and myself. And at that stage where we lived on a plot in Centurion. So if anybody listening is from that area, they'll remember that Centurion was just a bunch of plots. And we lived on Jean Avenue, which is now intersected by a huge shopping center, and the Gautrain station Gautrain tracks go over my old home that I grew up on. So it just looks very different. And at the time, because South Africa was changing, that's when townhouse complexes started being built. So nobody was in freestanding houses anymore. Everybody was, and it was Nyasha's home.
In suburban areas, at least.
Yes, Nyasha's home was a townhouse in, a little, like we know townhouses now. I mean, we all live in kind of that kind of setup. We know it, or we know people who do. And I was just like, you've got the coolest house. This is so cool. And I remember having a play date and just having a blast, and that friendship dynamic. And I'm considering how different it is for my boy. I'm proud of how the dynamics have changed. We obviously have a long way to go. I don't want to be, toxically positive about our situation in our country. But I am, and I won't say I pride myself on it because I can do better. I'm very cognizant of how many black friends I have in my home, how diverse my friendship group is, as an adult, because that filters down to my kids. And so I was like, well, I'll be damned if I put him in like an all-white school where he only knows. And that, Joey, you and I were talking off mic about economic diversity. Because now I think diversity in terms of race is creeping in.
Yes.
We're getting there, okay? But I probably don't have all my ducks in a row here in terms of facts, but economically, I think the divide is so huge, and I feel like that is equally as important for us to be teaching our kids. So let's discuss on the back of that is where I was in 1993 as a 6-year-old. Now my child has started grade R. His class looks beautifully diverse.
Yes.
Beautifully. And I'm proud to say economically as well.
Yeah.
There are kids from all walks of life in his class.
That was a big consideration for us, just also to fill you in, Joey, is that when we chose schools, even from as young as grade R for my son, we had a discussion, my husband and I, about we don't want, well, firstly, obviously, you want to protect your child. So we don't want our kid to go to a school where we're like the poorest family. Okay, where he will grow up. I mean, we can get the funds together and send him to the best private school in the country or in Johannesburg. And we can kill ourselves to make ends meet in order to pay those school fees for the rest of our days, okay? Because that is the done thing. But what will my kid be exposed to? And maybe private schooling is rather, in our family, going to be for when he's in high school. But what we did consider was not just economically where we are, but we want our children to go to a school where they can look at, I wear these school shoes and I have this backpack, but my friend does not even have school shoes or a backpack to put their books in. And I want them to understand that, not because I need them to check their privilege, but I want them to go to a place that looks like South Africa. I want them to have friends that look like the people they will be living amongst in South Africa. And so in one of our previous episodes, we were discussing the school trauma that we went through with applying for a grade 1 position in a public school. And it brought me to tears because my husband said to me, our kid is going to be a better South African because he is in this school. Yeah. And that made me feel like content, because whoever he befriends, I will facilitate those relationships come hell or high water, because he needs this opportunity in his life. He needs this opportunity to befriend people from all walks of life.
So I think with this one, I need to share my personal experience. And I think it's so interesting, because I'm looking at the things you are considering. And the things that I am considering when I'm looking for a school. So I did say that both my boys, they started a new school this year. And the reason why I took them away from the school that they were in, it was a private school, it was boys only. I felt that I wanted them to be in a space that is not going to make them feel that there's something wrong with the texture of their hair and the length of their hair. And the thing that made me finally make that decision is when my eldest, Oki, he needed to cut his hair because the school was saying the length is supposed to be 2 centimeters and what. And he said to me, Mom, if my hair was like the white kids, it was not going to be an issue because it's flat. Their hair is flat. So they won't see the 2 centimeter.
Do they give a 2 centimeter guideline for boys, Caucasian children as well?
They say so, but because of how his hair goes up, their hair doesn't go up.
No.
So it won't show. For him, his hair, because it's going up, it's going to show the length. And he was saying that for him, he feels it's unfair because 100%. There are other boys whose hair is longer than his, but because of their texture, it doesn't show. And I felt that, I remember we had to go to the barber so that he can cut. He was crying. And that broke me. That broke me as a parent, that am I putting my child in a place that is saying that there's something wrong with him, all in the name that I want a better education for him. And when I was looking at the guidelines, I did not understand that the issue of hair, why are we even talking about it? How does this affect my
education?
Exactly. And you'll always have an issue, and especially in South Africa, people will say when there's an issue about race and kids at their school, they chase them away, or they were talking about their afros. And black people will say, why are you taking them to those kids? Stay in your own schools. But the reality is that our own schools, they don't have the infrastructure and resources that we want in order for our child to compete with other kids later on. And I also have an issue with that mentality that stay in your own schools.
And our schools. Like, what has become of that quote-unquote Rainbow Nation?
I do feel, though, that there's a big responsibility on the schools that have infrastructure to be more open and empower themselves to understand the differences. And on that note, I can't relate because I have straight white person hair.
Yeah.
But my heart, I felt a dagger in my heart when we went to my daughter's grade 1 first parents meeting, and I told Sam the story. When one of the rules on the bullet point was no weird hairdos.
You see?
And the black parent behind me put up his arm. The teacher said it, and I was like, this is not happening.
Exactly.
I was just like, I cannot believe this is happening. I didn't even see who was sitting behind me, and you can feel from the back of your head, arm went up, and the question was, may you please explain what constitutes weird hairstyles? And I was just like, good for you, and let me watch this teacher squirm. Let me watch.
Exactly. And the problem is that, because you end up feeling like, I don't want to keep on fighting. Because when
you're
you
like
keep on
swimming
fighting,
upstream, it's exhausting.
and you are afraid that, what if, the more I'm always questioning things, what if they end up
it affects
penalizing
my child because I'm
it's like
always,
your mom is the one who's doing. Then you also have this thought that, okay, I'm the one who took them to this school. So maybe it's my fault. Maybe I deserve this. Maybe I need...
Joey.
Yeah, so, and those are the questions
you
that
ask yourself.
we deal with as black and brown parents, So the issue of diversity, coming to that, my son, Yena Ogi, he used to have white friends when he was in primary. And okay, it was a norm. But when he went to high school, one of the friendship ended. And when I was asking him, he was like, I think it's because, Mama, in our previous school, there were no white kids. So he had no choice but to play with us. So now there are other white kids.
And they
so
choose.
he's now choosing to go to them.
So this is what I want to touch on.
Yeah.
Okay? Let's talk about this. We live in still a very white, patriarchal world
Yeah.
where some things are seen as good and some things are seen as bad. I'm going to call a spade, yeah. Like that's what is seen as right and proper and what is seen as less than, which we are trying to flip the script on this desperately, and we need to be aware of it. Will children invariably stick to people who they know and are quote unquote comfortable with? And how is that a reflection on us as parents?
Or identify with. They feel like, oh, this person's like me, so I will...
So I commented on my friendship group that lacks diversity. In my esteem, I need more. I need to naturally and positively integrate more friendships with people of color. And that's on me as a parent. So I see that my kid sees that. So I haven't pushed the issue, but I'm wondering if that impacts on our children, depending on their age, obviously. I'm wondering if that impacts on our children in terms of who are they comfortable making friends with.
Yeah.
Okay, all mommy's friends look like this, and so I must also, this is the group that I'm comfortable with in terms of the language I speak with, what I look like, and all other things that impact culturally and economically and language-wise on friendship, socially on friendship. So I don't know, does it impact?
It does.
Do you think the also differs in terms of the age group?
Especially from when they are little, obviously our kids are imitating us. They do what we are doing, not what we are saying. So as much as you can say to your child, you must have diverse group of friends, but if they don't see you modeling, how does it look like? They are going to do what you are doing. So it does affect them, especially when they are little. But the challenge with teenagers is that when they grow, depending on the areas and the places that they are going to, if they don't give them an opportunity to meet with diverse people, they are going to stick to what they know.
Because it's
they are
a
going
comfortable
to
place.
And it's comfortable because the reality is that approaching someone who's very different from you is not easy. I'm just going to share. With Instagram, most of the friends that I made that are diverse from me, I made them because of social media. If it was not because of social media, we were not going to meet. We don't go to the same places.
We don't hang out in the same places.
Exactly. And even if we go to the same places, we don't know each other. No one is going, as we grow, we become awkward. We become more fearful, and
you become more self-aware and aware of your surroundings.
Exactly. So I'm not going to go to a stranger and say, "Hi, hey, I'm Joey." No, even when we go, when we go to school, and there are events and whatever, parents stick to each other.
Yes, it's a little click.
The kids will be, usually the kids that I end up knowing, it's because of my kids. The kids will be, oh, hi, mommy, this is my friend. Then that's how I will know the kids. Sometimes it's even possible for me to not meet the parents, especially if they are not going to have play dates out of school.
Yes.
So it will end up being that thing. So it does, friendship, it does affect our kids. It really starts there. The conversation has to be with us as adults in order for it to go down to our kids. And also how we react. When your child says, oh, I've got a friend, his name is Tiamo. What do you say? How are you reacting? Do you show interest? Do you get excited about it? And are you interested in knowing who's Tiamo?
Yes.
Where is his parents? And what? Your kids see that. They can see that, okay, when I say to my mom, my friend is Tiamo and my friend is Daniel, the reaction is different. They want to please you.
Gosh, but
Yeah.
like we're headed right in. I mean, we were talking about diverse friendships among our kids. Now it's just like this inherent racism that's still so applicable in
You
South
know
Africa.
what,
That
Sam?
makes me so sad.
I was just thinking about that. That is unfortunately still the world we live in, and we
Yeah.
cannot deny it. We cannot pretend that those things don't exist because we're however many gazillion years past the horrific apartheid era. Excuse me. But diversity in friendships, in the sense of, yes, race, economics, is a thing. But think about, for example, our children are in schools where they are not necessarily children with special needs. So they're not exposed to befriending someone in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Or befriending someone with some type of disability, blind or deaf or whatever it is. They're not exposed to that.
Yeah.
And I became acutely aware of it again over December when my family was here from New Zealand, and my niece, my brother's daughter, you wouldn't consider her a special needs individual, but she had a stroke when she was 5, my daughter's current age. And as a result, her motor functions are slightly debilitated. She doesn't walk like a person would. Her foot doesn't do what it should.
Able-bodied person.
Yes, able-bodied person. So she's not by any sense disabled. She can drive a car. She battles with running a little bit, and so because the foot is almost like a lazy foot. And so when she was little, 5 or 6 years old, in this country, they wouldn't allow her into a general public school or private school for that matter, because the teachers were classifying her as a disabled child or a special needs individual. And so she would have to go to a school that specializes in special needs. Even though she does not have cerebral palsy or anything, or a learning disability or anything, her one foot, it's like having a lazy eye. She's got like a lazy foot almost, you know. And my daughter was like, why is she like that? Does she need to wear nappies? Because I don't know if in my daughter's mind, when you don't walk like I walk, you have a disability, and therefore the rest of your body also doesn't work like it. So we had lots of conversations around that, and I just realized that their exposure to this kind of thing is limited.
Very.
I don't have friends with children that have disabilities, and they're not very exposed to that kind of thing. Diversity in terms of race and economic diversity, my kids are exposed to that in school, at home. We're ticking the boxes there. They're getting the information they need. But by the same token, diversity in your group of friends to that nature is important. And where do they get exposure? Without be like, hey, your child's in a wheelchair. Will you be my friend? Kind of thing. I mean, that's insensitive as well.
No, and just talking about that, I've been talking to a few people about the issue of disability and how, especially for me growing up, it was hidden. It wasn't a conversation that we are supposed to have.
It becomes a point of shame.
Exactly. So even when kids realize that someone is different, we will want to act as if they don't see it.
Yes.
You know?
Let's not talk about it. No. Don't make a fuss. Don't stare. Don't. Yes.
Exactly.
Because it's rude to stare.
Because we don't want to have those conversations. And someone was actually saying that it's worse when you don't ask me. I
Yes.
know that I look different. I know that when you see me, it's not something that you see every day. So please ask me. Come and ask me what is happening, what happened to you, what's going on. I will inform you. I will educate you. But a lot of us, we are uncomfortable with it because it's something that we were not taught growing up. And kids, you know how they are. They'll be like, why is this man acting like this? Why is it? But
Yeah.
what do? Our first instinct,
Shh.
Yes.
Come. Let's go. Get your
Yes.
child away from the person. I've had to train myself to be like, go ask the uncle.
Yes.
exactly.
Go ask the uncle. Okay, let me ask him.
If you're not
Because-
comfortable, would you like me to go and ask him? Yes.
Exactly, because that's how we start the conversation. And it also goes back to the issue of race and economic, all of these things. We know them, we are aware of them, but instead of talking about it, we are afraid.
Yeah.
And when we are afraid, it makes it worse because now I'll be sitting with my friends and busy judging other races. And you will be sitting and busy judging instead of us actually asking and say, Joey, what is your reality? How?
That's a great tip because there are a lot of things that I often don't understand necessarily, cultural differences, and I've friends that are close to me I can ask because I feel kind of comfortable
Yeah.
there. I'm like, listen, I know that's probably a stupid question, but just explain to me how this works, kind of thing, you know. And so I think, like, I have a friend who is Tamil, and I've asked her lots of questions about their religion and their practices and how it works and why it works that way. And I'm grateful that I've become comfortable in that scenario to ask those types of questions. But I think to what you're saying is the knowledge is power. It's like the
Yeah.
education of the matter. And the truth is to just not feel awkward and ask the question, not feel inhibited that you're going to offend the person. And hopefully, if you do offend them, then they can say, so that's offensive. And you need to check yourself, you know?
So this bleeds into, for me, we grew up going, everybody's the same. Everybody, and yes,
the-
everybody feels the same pain. Everybody.
That's
But
toxic,
Joey,
though,
you're
because
sitting
we're
in-
not all the same.
You're sitting in front of me. Black almost became a swear word. If I were to say, so we're trying to be liberal and accepting white.
As whiteys, we're
So-
trying to have the right language, which
Yeah.
is so ridiculous.
So you end up saying, I, as a teenager, was at a doctor's appointment, and I remember saying, well, you know, I'm not African, meaning my skin color is not black. Okay? And the doctor said, were you born in South Africa? And I was like, yeah. She said, then you're African. You are African. And I was like, damn straight I'm African. So what was that mindset? I couldn't say, well, I'm not black, because then the presumption in my sphere was that the doctor would think I was racist, which is not the case at all. So you sitting in front of me, Joe, you are a black woman, proudly. Okay?
Yes.
I'm a white woman. That is our reality. Now, what are
Yeah.
we expecting? And what were we expected as kids? Not to admit that that person looks different to you. So in very recent years, we came across this notion of that Rainbow Nation that I spoke about being a PR stint that maybe didn't serve us as South Africans.
Yes.
We will all seem to be under one nation, under God. Okay, now I'm moving into the United
Open
States.
up a whole
which is
new
other
can of
thing.
worms.
But like one nation and under this Rainbow Nation and everything's cool and just don't talk about race.
like
all
we're
just-
talking about, like you would treat someone with a disability. No, don't
Just
point,
don't-
don't stare. Just we don't talk about it. This is what we say
So
now.
for 25 years, we
Yeah.
haven't been talking about the color of our skin. And when our kids now, we started raising a new generation of kids. Now we're like, no, kids do see color.
Yes.
So in terms of making multicultural friendships, how would you tackle that? Kid, yes, okay, let's talk about your friend.
This nonsense
Selma.
of my kid don't see
And
color.
parents, they really love it. And I feel it's because of what you are saying, the issue of the Rainbow Nation. And people are so afraid to admit that we were wrong. It is
Yeah.
not really. And that is why we will always have incidents of racism, because we never took the time to acknowledge that this is what happened. And how do I feel about it? How do I feel about the new South Africa? Am I really okay with it? People are pretending that they are okay with it, but deep down they are not. And because they have not really worked on themselves, that is why when they get an opportunity and they get angry, their real feelings get
Come to the
out.
surface.
Then after what happens, when it happens, we will talk about it for a week. After we go back, we continue. The real issue is that we need to go back and be honest.
With ourselves.
With ourselves.
It's hard to
Truly be
look in the
honest,
mirror.
because the other issue is that for white people, are you supposed to apologize forever? Someone will say, but I was not there. It was my parents. It was my grandparents. Then I'm going to say, yeah, but you are benefiting from what they did. So we need to have those tough conversations where we're like, I don't know what to do. Even admitting that I really do not know what to do. I want to be an ally, but I don't know where to start. But saying that you do not see color, it's a problem.
That is not the
because
way.
you have to
Because
see me. You have to see my color.
Yes.
It's who I am.
Unless you cannot see, unless you have a seeing disability, as in I am physically blind
Exactly.
and I read with Braille, you have to be able to see color.
And
This-
our kids talk about
kids
it.
see it.
Because they do say that.
My daughter
"Oh,
talks about the brown kids. There's no, not the brown kids. She talks about, Mommy, you know that girl with the, I don't remember her name. She's one of the ones with dark skin.
And you know, for us, especially if you have not done the inner work, you get triggered. When your child mentions color, you get triggered that it's like, no, you are wrong. You can't say that. But they are not wrong. They are supposed to say
She's
Fact is a
observing
fact,
it like
right?
she observes, oh, the
Exactly.
sky is blue today. And that is how children view things. They see things at face value.
So we need to talk to them. Like even the issue of economically, how are other people living?
Yeah.
Because the reality is that there are certain, what I was saying about the school, there are certain considerations, there are certain things that are affecting me because I'm black, and they're affecting my child because he's black. You know, the issue of if your child is going to be a friend with my child, are you going to allow him to come and visit my child?
I
in
was
the
just going
township?
to ask you.
Or are we supposed to always come to the suburbs?
How do yeah, because how are you making play dates work in your family? My son has made a new friend in his new school. In fact, he is one of very few white children in the foundation phase of the school. And so he has chosen, interestingly enough, to not gravitate towards the few other white children that are there. He came from a school that was predominantly Caucasian. There was a mix, but the percentages was heavily swayed towards white children. And so it's a dual medium school, and so it was founded as an Afrikaans school, which explains exactly why
Yeah.
it is looking the way it is in terms of racial and cultural diversity. And so he is in this new school now, and his best friend, as he calls him, Nati, and he was very interested in the name as well. I've named your child now on this show, but Nati has just climbed into my heart because Jess adores his hair as well. She's like, Mom, Nati's hair looks so cool. It looks like little black knickknacks. He's got short
Yeah.
little dreads. She said that, and my heart just swelled with pride at how cutely she explained it, because she literally acknowledged the difference in her brother and his friend's hair, and she finds it cool and interesting,
Exactly.
which is exactly what
This is where
it
we need
is.
to be, right?
Yes.
Doesn't it still feel a little bit like, are we allowed to say that? Let's check ourselves.
And I wanted to say about Nati has asked for a play date. And so I said, Nati, please ask your mom to message me. We've got each other's
Yeah,
numbers. I said, please ask your mom to message me. And so she hasn't messaged me yet because she is 7 months pregnant and she's on bed rest. And I'm assuming she's like, how am I going to make a play date work with a baby on the way? And I live
Yeah.
in Dobsonville. Like, I can't drive. How am I going to make this commute work? And so I texted her in the week thinking to myself that firstly, I want to check in how she is, and maybe she's been bogged down. Maybe it'll open up the opportunity for her to say, listen, Natty wants a play date, which she didn't, so I'm assuming she's not ready. But my next step is going to be to text her and say, hey, can we come to you? I know you can't drive. Natty has mentioned to me he wants a play date. I'm happy to come to you, or to come pick him up if you're not comfortable with that. And I don't know what the boundaries are, but I'm going to do that because my kid wants a play date, and Natty wants a play date.
And also, for me,
That's what I would do.
that.
That's what I would do with
appreciate
Sam if she was on bed rest.
Exactly, because I feel like also what we're saying about taking into account economically where someone is. You know, it's very easy, and you know how kids are. They will just say, it's my friend's birthday, Mama. I want to get a gift. And then when I'm bringing a gift, or your child, it's my child's birthday first, then you buy him a gift. That is very expensive. Then now the expectation, even if you didn't say it, the expectation now is on me that, okay, when it's your son's birthday,
I can't be coming there with something of a lesser value.
You see, so, and that needs us as parents to communicate, because usually with these kids' friendships that are not friendships that come from us as parents being friends first, we need to have open conversations, because it's not fair for us to talk through kids who don't know about money or don't understand the logistics and all these things. So we need to create that space that allows us as parents to communicate that, okay, this is what our kids are saying. What do you say? How do you feel about it? Instead of letting the other mom feel like, I have to catch up. Because the reality, as much as we don't like it, there will be differences. And when there is that differences, we need to know how to navigate it to make sure that this friendship can continue and can grow. Because I had cases where I was like, complaining to my husband that this friendship needs to end. It's costing me.
Yes, it is.
This friendship is costing me.
I know, those very jokes.
Yes. 100%, don't we all?
Joey, you spoke to your kids. You asked them. I mentioned to you, Charlene and I are going to have you on the show. We're going to chat about the importance of multicultural friendships. And part of the questioning is, what is the reality among teens, among our younger children? We've spoken about younger children. You've got kids across the board,
yes.
And you asked each one, what were their responses?
I was so surprised at Ogis, the teenager, his response. What he said that when he feels that when the kids are younger, the white kids, he was referring to, because in his school it was white and black kids. The white kids, it seemed that it wasn't when he tried to play with them, even when we go out, it wasn't that easy for the kids to play with him, because it seemed like they needed their parents to say yes. If their parents were not comfortable, they wouldn't play. But now, as teens, he feels like, because the kids feel like, I've got authority, I'm able to decide who I want to play with, they are now playing more with them. Out of their own authority. So it's no longer about what are the parents saying, but it's about what are the kids saying. So it does show that parents have a huge influence.
That's where the prejudice comes in.
Yes, parents have a huge influence on what the kids do and who do they choose to play with. I was really surprised at his answer, because I thought it was going to be the other way around, because the saying we were talking about, that kids see no color. So you assume that when they are younger, that's where they will play with everyone. And when they are older, because now they've got all these beliefs, that's where they'll be like, no.
Yes, the prejudice and the language.
Yeah, but he was saying, and which makes sense, because teenagers, especially these ones now, the 2000, they are doing their own.
The woke generation.
I was just going to say that we're millennials, and then there's Gen Z. What is this generation of people called?
They are doing,
I lose
no, they are doing
XYZ.
their own thing.
I
Like,
lose.
they are not. They are shaking things. They are asking the hard conversation.
I like
The hard
it.
question. I love
like
it too. I love it too, because for us, we were so safe. We didn't want to ruffle feathers.
want to
Even
step
now.
a foot
But
Even
where has
now,
that
yeah.
brought us? That is the exact thing we've discussed. The not talking about things led to lack of education.
Yes.
Leads to inhibition and awkwardness and not growing.
Exactly.
What about your 9-year-old? What did he say?
So his best friend is white. Like, he loves him. And funny enough, Tiamo is very sweet and very gentle. His tears are here. I always say that we can't be, because you will give him feedback and you are now shouting and already. No, I'm not crying. I'm not crying.
Hits me in the feels, Mom.
Yeah, so at first, when he started school, the teacher was saying that, oh, he's struggling to make friends. But you know what? With this age, he will eventually, he just needs one friend. So he has this friend, and they've been the best. When they separated, when they went to different grades, and they were crying. When they meet each other, the way they get excited, they're hugging each other. So he was saying to me that, no, Mom, for me, my friend is just, he's kind, Mom, he's nice. And I asked him because the friend has a brother. So I'm like, so how is the brother? I don't know, Mom. I don't talk to him. He's like, hi. Then I go with my friend and we play. So like, okay. Because I agree, we talk as parents. So me and my husband, we were talking about the brother, that he doesn't really greet people. Like, he's not friendly.
Standoffish kind of.
Yeah, and he's young. Maybe he's like 12 or 13. But then the young one, he's with Tiamo. They are affectionate. And it was such an issue for me that, do we allow him to be friends with this one, or do we stop because how the brother looks, or...
Because you're thinking like, what is the household like? If this kid doesn't have manners to at least say hello or greet, what are the parents?
What else is happening?
Yes,
You see?
yes.
And the mom is she's very nice. She will send messages. Can we please meet and Tiamo and what? Yeah, friendships are complicated.
It's hard,
Kids' friendships are complicated.
So, okay. I'm going to round off this discussion, but I think we've had plenty food for thought.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot.
We're gonna keep chatting here. But so, our sponsor Lego Group conducted new research about friendship and how kids see friendship, which we'll be discussing over the course of the next 3 episodes. But I want to focus on one, and that's 9 in 10 kids. So 93% of kids believe that it's good to have friends who can teach you different things.
Oh, wow.
So it's obvious, guys, right? And then 94% of kids surveyed said that their friends make them happy. So friendships are a seminal part of humanity, but of growing up especially.
And it's about that. It's about a feeling.
It's about a feeling. So what I want to spitball some of the obvious things that we haven't stated, because we're assuming a lot of things here. Why is it important for our kids to have multicultural friendships?
I want to tell a story about Natty once again. Joshua said to us just last week on the drive home, he was discussing with his dad, just being introspective as he can be. He was like, out of the blue, he says, Dad, you know what? Do you know why I'm happier at this school? Nobody asked him whether he was happier or whether it's better or anything. His dad said, tell me. I want to know. He said, because everyone is more like me. So Red was like, in what way are they more like you? Because if I look at you, my boy, you are very different to your friends in the school. Then this is our text, our subtext or pretext or whatever you call it in our minds. And he says, I don't know, they're kind.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, they make him feel comfortable because there's kindness. He feels welcome because the feeling he gets is what makes him feel good.
That's so
amongst
beautiful.
his friends. And I was like, firstly, yay, my kid is great. Secondly, thank God for these boys that he has befriended, Nati and Kosanati, and, I'm grateful for them because they're wholesome people and I cannot have wished for better for my boy,
I love that. That is so beautiful, hey?
So, Joe?
Yeah, so besides teaching them teamwork, because the reality is that when they go out there, they are going to meet diverse people in their workspace. You don't even choose. So from having multicultural friends, you start learning how to even do conflict resolution, because you are different. Your worldview is different. Your daily realities is different.
Your frame of reference is different.
Exactly.
And I can't necessarily relate to yours because I've never lived it.
Exactly. So it also teaches them to be kind to other people, that I don't really have to understand what you're going through, but I can be there. I can be able to support you, to be open-minded. We definitely need that, for them to be open-minded, for them to be leaders. I love this one. And sometimes we don't think about that, because now having to manage all these different experiences, it takes leadership. It takes leadership abilities, you know, having to understand, to be in your world and come to this person's world and come back and still be yourself and still be able and not be threatened by why are you like this, and understanding. So I will encourage parents to really consider it. If you are afraid, do it for your child, you know, and also check, what are you really afraid of? Is it really true, or these were lies that you were told as you were growing up? And I
These
think
core beliefs, that are they truths?
exactly,
Yeah, just because that's what has been your reality for the longest time, is that the reality, or is that just your reality?
Exactly. And I think that's what I love about our kids, because they challenge us to really go back and check for it. No, they were lying. It wasn't like that.
100%.
You know? And also to see that, what am I afraid of? There's nothing to fear. And I've been missing out on, you know, I've been learning so many things from different people. I remember there's this one friend of mine from online. She's Indian. And when she is sharing her experiences, I'm realizing that we were going through similar things, but I did not know, because I thought that Diana, she had it easier, or it was better for her. But as she is sharing her journey, I'm like, sure, I've been missing out.
I love that, because there's beauty in the sameness
Yes.
of us as moms and parents, and the universality of being a woman
Of
in
rowing
this
the
world.
same boat.
Yeah,
Exactly.
but there's an equal abundance of beauty in our differences,
Exactly.
and we are missing out if we don't embrace that, and we need to teach our kids that.
100%. A waitress said to me last week, when my kids were just being complete hooligans in a restaurant, and I was not complaining, but I was making commentary about, this is my life now, you know, this is how it goes and whatever. She just looked at me with such love in her eyes, and she said, "It rains everywhere, honey." And I was like, that just resonated with me so much, because we can all identify with a rainy day. And it
Exactly.
doesn't matter where you live, where you come from, who you are, whether you're the Queen of England or just little old me over here in South Africa. Rain, it will rain at some point or another.
Exactly. And I think that's what I love about having such conversations, because you realize that I'm not alone. Other moms are going through this. Other kids are also navigating, trying to find new friends. And knowing that, it encourages you that, okay, I've got this. I'm not that bad. At least I'm somewhere.
Kids are the great equalizer, guys.
They are.
They do. They just cut you down to size.
Joey, thank you so much for joining us on the show, and yeah, let's do more. More.
Please, it is my absolute pleasure. This was so great. Thank you.
How about we keep talking?
Guys, you know this. If you want to chat with us, weigh in on something, swear, rant, cry, laugh, just rage, hit us up on email, info@thegreatequalizer@gmail.com.
Or DM us a voice note on Instagram. Record one on your phone
Send it,
when
send
you're in
it.
the moment, and
Yes.
hit us up over email again, info@thegreatequalizer.co.za.
Also, feel free to like and subscribe to our not so new anymore, but pretty new, considering how old we are, YouTube channel.
Yes.
What? We're on YouTube.
To our listeners and viewers, your support is so important to us. You have no idea. every like, every love, every share, every comment, the screenshots that go back and forth between Team TGE with the engagement just means so much to us. Joey,
Yes.
you'll know this as an influencer. You like that engagement because it means that you're hitting a spot.
Yes.
Yes,
That's the game,
yes.
that's the
It
goal.
might be a virtual engagement, but it is connection still. So please don't forget to review us on Apple Podcasts as well, or rate us on Facebook. With whatever your poison is, you can find us there, and you can leave us a loving review. Please review us, except for on TikTok, because we're not that woke yet.
I don't know. Are you on TikTok, Joey?
I'm on TikTok.
Oh, wow!
No, but it was by accident. Actually, I was doing TikTok. I was just sharing. I wanted to share places we go to, you know, because sometimes people want to travel, but you always feel like it's so expensive. So I will share where I went, and it blew up just because of that. So I will share when I take my kids out, where do we go to, so that more people can access it. I
Yes.
just feel like for such a long time, it was like, these are not places for us. So finally, we can go there, and I want more people to go. So yeah.
TikTok.
So you are
TikTok.
accidentally on TikTok.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
we will find
maybe we will
ourselves.
accidentally find ourselves on TikTok too.
Yeah,
But
wherever you might be, browse around on TikTok. Maybe you find us there.
you know, never. Maybe.
Wherever else, hit the subscribe button. Guys, every interaction brings one mom closer to sanity.
Yes.
100%. The more we're seen and the more people interact with us, or you pass us on to other parents, the better this podcast will do and the better we can be for you.
And so, that's it for this episode of The Great Equalizer. Joey Dlamini, you are doing an excellent job.
Thank you so much, lady.
Charlene, you are doing an poop and vomit aside, you are doing a very good job, my
Hey,
friend.
I have clean hair, so I must be doing a great job. And so are you. You do not look like a wet dog, despite being rained on this morning.
Despite it. We're all doing an amazing job, and listeners, viewers, so are you. Until next time,
Keep your mom game strong. Shout out to our producers over at Autumn Aperture and ARC Studios, including our editor Tyler McKenna and sound engineer Stephen Creel. Please review our show notes for more on today's topic and expert guest. And for more on The Great Equalizer, our website is always a good idea, www.thegreatequalizer.co.za, along with our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and now YouTube. And of course, if you want to chat with Sam or Charlene directly, email us at info@thegreatequalizer.co.za. We would love to hear from you.